Hello and welcome to the Boxing Insider, where this week we'll be asking, is it worth watching Amir Khan versus Kell Brook? Now, this is a fight that's been talked about for more than a decade. Many promoters have tried and failed to make it happen, but the man who has made it happen this time was boxers Ben Shalom. Can you give us some insight into how you were able to make this fight? So many have tried, so many have failed, so what were you able to do?
I think it's taken us 5 months, so it's not been easy. We've been with both families. We tried to get to the bottom of what everyone wanted. Amir's got a very good manager in Mazar, who's been brilliant working with him, and then Terry's been good as well. And so I think it has been difficult. Every time, goalposts are being changed, mind games are going on. Neither fighter would sit in the room with each other, and they were both willing to walk away from the fight and having never done it. So in the end, it made sense. We got all the parties on the same page, and we made sure that it was in the UK, and that was important. It's in Manchester, it's on Sky Sports, and I think that's what the fans deserve. And both fighters have made enough money now, and for them this was about legacy, and I can't wait.
And why do you think it has happened now? Why do you think both fighters have decided now's the time, and they've maybe been willing to bend over slightly to be able to get the fight made?
I mean, people will say money or there's no one else left, but this fight meant so much, and it's so rare to have actual beef and rivalries in boxing, but this fight meant so much to them from so young. There was too much on the line for them to make the fight. They've both won world titles, they've both been around the world, they've both fought the best fighters in the world. Would that have happened for one of them if one of them had lost early on? I don't know. So why this is so exciting is they're both now in the same position. They've both done everything. They've both learned. They've both had highs. They've both had lows. They know what it's like to be on the big stage. They're rejuvenated. They're in camp. They've been in camp for months. And so I think there was almost too much on the line. And I think right now it's a perfect time for both fighters. And that's why we were about to see it.
The animosity between the pair was clear to see during this week's press conference. talkSPORT's Gareth A. Davis can fill us in on the history of this rivalry. Gareth, we finally got the announcement that Kell Brook and Amir Khan will step in the ring at the start of next year. But can you talk us through the history when it comes to the rivalry between these two?
Well, you could almost say that it goes back 15 years or even longer when they were both amateurs. What happened? Those two guys boxed each other as amateurs. Amir Khan claiming, yes, they schooled him and he could have schooled Kell with one hand behind his back. That's a very long time ago, and Kell's a brilliant boxer and in many ways may have the antidote to Amir Khan and may have had the antidote in his prime. And I think there were times when I fancied Kell Brook to beat Amir Khan when they were in their prime, purely because he's brilliant in the mid-range and brilliant with his timing and very comfortable in the ring. But I think Amir had this kind of stellar rise, this talented superstar teenager. Kell Brook had to kind of come up the old school route and never got recognition until he defeated Sean Porter in 2013, 2014. An amazing victory in Carson, California as well. We've seen how elite Sean Porter is. And I think Amir was the star of that generation, of that group, of that weight of fighters. Kell was always in his shadow. And when Kell wanted the opportunity when he became a world champion, I think from around about 2014 onwards, and definitely from 2016 onwards, James, these two guys should have met. And I think the resentment, athletically, not as an individual, but athletically, has spilt over in Kell so that he genuinely doesn't like the person now. Every time I've interviewed Kell, his eyes go dark when you mention Amir Khan. Dark. Like he wouldn't have been satisfied if he hadn't had the fight with Amir Khan. We'd have all been very disappointed if these guys never met. Even though people are going to complain that it's too late, it's not prime versus prime. These two guys have been on this trajectory. Amir doesn't like Kell, but wants to put him in his place athletically. Kell doesn't like Amir anymore, doesn't like him. And I think it's a very emotional process for him. That's as much as I feel and know about it, having known both guys for, 16, 17 years.
So what have both fighters had to say? Well, I spoke to both Khan and Brook at this week's fight launch.
Kell is gonna try. He's gonna try to show he's a big man and he's a tough guy. But look, there's levels in the game, and I respect him. What he's done in the sport, he's won world titles. Look, you respect every fighter that stepped into that ring because it's not an easy sport. But with Kell, you know, he talks a big game, then he backs. So wait, come see Feb 19th. We'll see what happens on the night.
For you personally, what do you feel like you've got left? You said you want to win this fight and move on to other things.
Yeah.
For you, is this your last fight as a professional boxer?
No, I'm still going strong, man. I'm still going strong. I swear. You know, I've been training the last couple of months. And I feel so good. I feel so strong. I feel so sharp. And I'm like thinking, wow, I've got a few more years left in me. So, you know, I speak well. I'm not punch drunk yet. So I'm all right, man. I mean, I'm still going strong. I know I've seen other fighters at 35, they normally let themselves go, but luckily I'm not one of them to let myself go. I've always stayed in the gym, stayed busy, and but I love the sport. You know, having that time off makes you love the sport more because you end up missing it. And yeah, I can't wait to get back in that ring again and get into proper hard training camp as well.
How pleased are you to finally get this over the line?
Ecstatic, you know, finally. We've been talked about since they were a teenager, you know, and finally. He's always avoided the fight. I think that he's been pushed. You know, his back's against the wall in his fight. Nobody wants to see him in America. No one wants to see him in any other fight. This is the biggest fight out there for him. This is probably why he's probably ended up taking the fight. Because believe you me, that this has been on the table for a long time, and he's never wanted the fight.
And why do you think it has happened now? Why have you been able to jump over the hurdles to get this fight over the line?
You know, I just think that he'll probably think that I'm not the fighter that I used to be. You know, I'm hearing stories that he spends money, a lot of money, and it needs to pay money. But at the end of the day, whatever's been said and done, we're here now. It's across the line, and the fans are going to see and a fight what's going to go down in history. This fight, this grudge match. You know, King of the North, we're going to find out, and I know it's going to be me. I know that I could see in his eyes that he knows that I'm coming to bring the heat. He knows that I'm passionate. He knows that there's real hatred there between us. We don't like each other. It's not a game. We just generally just don't like each other, and it's going to make for a mouth-watering, exciting fireworks, popcorn. 19th of February, Manchester Arena.
Now, it's fair to say that both fighters are now past their peak. Amir Khan last fought more than 2 years ago. The last time Kell Brook was in action was in November of last year. He was stopped in 4 rounds by Terence Crawford. So who's the favourite going into this one?
Both these guys are vastly experienced, but they haven't had this domestic dust-up in the UK before, and that brings its own unique set of challenges that you might be encountering for the first time. Amir, you would imagine, always starts really quickly. He might start quick. He's going to have his feet under him. So he's been come unstuck before in the past where almost his hands are too quick and his feet don't follow, or they don't marry up so well, and then Brook will be looking to time something. He'll be looking to punch with him. He won't be able to necessarily, and he's got extremely fast hands, but he probably thinks, don't point me trying to punch after him, I'll punch with him. So as soon as the punches come in, he'll take his head off the line and fire back. If he has that success, then it's his fight to win. Family is just a bit too slick, wants to maybe box high on his toes, bouncing around. This could be his fight, and then he could walk, not necessarily walk Brook onto one, but fast in and out style, watch, put one on top of him, spring into range, land a big shot. So you'll be watching this fight with this could be finishing at any moment. Don't blink for a second.
Before we finish, I wanted to ask you about the big fight that got announced yesterday, Amir Khan against Kell Brook. What's your reaction to that fight finally being announced? I think for us as Brits, we thought it should have happened 5 years ago, but I guess better late than never.
Yeah, I like it. Why not? They're fighting, and unfortunately, boxing shoots itself in the foot often with fights like this, where the fights happen past where they really should have. But hey, it's still happening, and I think that's cool. Maybe they're both a little bit, past their own prime. Respect to both, but again, they're both there, so they're fighting each other, at whatever level they're at, and I think it makes it a very interesting fight. So yeah, I look forward to that. I like both of them. I'm a fan of both their styles. Obviously, I've shared the ring with Amir. So yeah, good fight. Should be fun.
We're really struggling to pick a favourite at the moment and who's going to win that fight in February. I mean, from sharing the ring with Khan, from knowing so much about Brook, what are you saying? What would be your prediction at this stage?
Honestly, I can't, because they've both been out of the ring for so long. Amir with his blistering speed, Kell with his power. It's a really good matchup. I really, it always has been. It always has been, because that's not changed. Khan didn't lose his speed. Kell didn't lose his power. Both guys, have been stopped, have been damaged. So the chin is always an issue, always a question. But they've both been out of the ring for so long. It's really who's going to be able to, tap into what they were like, what they were, what they are at their best, what their style is really about. Who I think is going to take that fight.
I don't know how much interest there will be in it. Maybe there's going to be loads. I know they're both calling my name, Khan and Brook, saying after this fight they'll fight me. Well, I'll fight the winner. It don't make no difference to me. Good for British boxing.
And who do you think the winner will be in that fight? Who should be the favourite going in?
Edging more towards Brook, just slightly edging towards Brook.
And why is that? What do you think he's got that will get him over the line and get him that win?
A better chin.
If I had to choose a winner, I would choose Kell Brook. I think Brook, at this point in time, is clearly the better fighter. So if I had to punt on that fight, I would go for Kell Brook. But it's certainly an interesting fight. There's a lot of legitimate bad blood between them. And I think it'll be a good attraction in the UK.
So, is it worth watching Amir Khan versus Kell Brook? Well, like many, I was fairly cynical when I found out this fight was set to be announced. It's a fight that should have taken place 5 years ago when both men were at their peak. However, I guess better late than never, because we'd have moaned if we never saw this fight. And having spoken to both men and seen them face to face at the press conference, the dislike is genuine, it's real. There's legacy, there's bragging rights on the line. So for that reason, I'll definitely be tuning in on the 19th of February. And who knows, if that turns out to be a classic, then maybe we do have a rematch at Wembley Stadium, much like Froch versus Groves. Make sure you check out our interviews in full and let us know what you think by leaving a comment below. Will you be watching Amir Khan versus Kell Brook, and who wins? And don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on any of our boxing content across the talkSPORT network.